Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, convenes a national security summit, says the issue of kidnapping will be dealt with. Senate and House of Representatives back the takeover of AREC by Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, as AMCON suggests concessioning of the airline. Senate President and the Speaker are in London to see President Muhammadu Buhari over his health. And trouble is brewing over stories revealing the massive influence of Russia on the U.S. presidential campaign. And for more on our top stories and others, please visit our website, channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. You can also watch us on the go on your mobile device. Log on to m.channelstv.com or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. Having the Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You also have the Eyewitness feature, so you too can be part of the news. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and then follow the instructions to share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Let's take a look at some of those pictures I was talking about. And we begin with this one from Suleja Mina Highway. Our Eyewitness reporter is warning traders plying the road against loading vehicles this way. And the next one is from Jos Sakwanga Highway, showing a burnt truck. Our Eyewitness reporter says this truck has been abandoned since it had an accident, and he's calling on the relevant authorities to remove it. And from Benue State comes this one. Our Eyewitness reporter wants the government to repair this bad road. And we end in Aja, Lagos, area of Lagos. Our Eyewitness reporter says a pole has fallen along this bad road that already has an illegal refuse dump. He's asking the authorities to pay attention to this road. Thanks for all your pictures, and send us some more when you can. The federal government has approved a new national health policy that will spell out the functions of all tiers of government and their responsibilities in the healthcare delivery in the country. The Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, who briefed State House correspondents after the council meeting, says the policy will strengthen Nigeria's healthcare system as well as deliver qualitative and comprehensive healthcare to Nigerians. The Federal Executive Council also says it started the process of fine-tuning the Economic Growth and Recovery Plan to be launched by the President very soon. Our State House correspondent Chukwuma Onekwusi reports.
Professor Yemi Oshibajo has a task to perform, presiding over the Federal Executive Council meeting. For over 7 hours, issues around budget, health and works take preeminence. Beginning with the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan still being fine-tuned, Minister in charge explains what the plan is out to achieve when finally launched.
The goal of the plan is to have an economy with low inflation, stable exchange rates, and a diversified, inclusive, and sustained growth.
Nigeria now has a new national health policy, the third in the lineup of health policies for the country since independence. The policy, according to the minister, will this time touch the lives of the poor in the country.
This new policy will provide the direction necessary to support the achievement of significant progress in terms of improving the performance of the national health system. It also lays emphasis on primary care as the bedrock of our national health system, in addition to the provision of financial risk protection to all Nigerians.
12 roads are to be reconstructed across the country from Adamawa to Kwara, Kano, Enugu, Kaduna, Bauchi and Gombe states.
The headline figures are in the region of about 126 billion, but I think that's not the story. The story really is what the award of those contracts do to the economy. They restore confidence back in the construction industry. Contractors who had been owed for 2-3 years before Mr. President was elected are back in various states. They recalled back their workers. They are purchasing quarry, they are purchasing gravel, they are purchasing cement, iron rod. The economy is on its way back to a mend.
The federal government believes that when the roads are fully rehabilitated, they will restore confidence as well as improve the travel plans of Nigerians by roads. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
The acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has spent the last 11 days in the Niger Delta region trying to get the feel of the people on their agitations for a better deal. He said the federal government is considering encouraging the indigents of the region who are into local refining to operate legally. This is how the acting president summarized his views after meeting with the leaders of the Niger Delta in Port Harcourt, Rivers State.
Young men and women who are involved in illegal refining. Our approach to that is that we must engage them by establishing modular refineries so that they can participate in legal refining, not illegal refining. And we are committed to making sure that the young men and women of the Niger Delta are properly engaged.
Joining me now to take a look at the modular refinery solution is the former managing director of the Kaduna refinery, Mr. Alex Ogidingbe. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, there are a lot of theories about how this can work, but just start off by telling us the difference between a typical refinery and a modular refinery for those that don't know.
Well, a typical refinery we will call the same as a regular modular refinery because they contain the same elements, the same process units. The only difference is in the construction method. The typical refinery we would like to call grassroots, maybe after the location, to show you that you actually go there, you clear the location, and you build the units one by one. Whereas a modular refinery is one that you usually build outside the location where you want to put the refinery, because of costs or technology or whatever other considerations like capital. Usually modular refineries are smaller because they have to be shipped in large vessels, they have to be put on platforms and welded. The units have to be welded. If you see a typical refinery with 20 to 25 different units, you will find that a modular refinery is by nature much smaller. And they last for shorter periods. They are more specific for smaller operations. They are not as commercial as the regular refineries. You will find that in Nigeria today, apart from the older refineries you have, any new refineries being planned are of the grassroots type. For instance, the Dangote refinery being built in Lekki is for 400,000 to 500,000 barrels per day. You cannot do that on a modular basis and be competitive. You have to come and make the construction on the site. And another one that I know is coming up very soon is 200,000 barrels per day. Again, the site is also very critical. Modular refineries are usually very small for specific areas. In fact, in the last 15 years in Nigeria, there have been so many talks about modular refineries, just like you want to think of generators for houses or for offices. You cannot do that easily in a refinery process. You have to go to the place where you find the crude oil and then link it. So modular refineries don't necessarily work in the situation we have here.
Let me just ask you, because the idea is to sort of curb the restiveness that we have in that region and do something about illegal refining of crude as well. I took a look at some of the conditions that should be present for a modular refinery to succeed, even though you've already said that perhaps it's not quite what we might need now. Proximity and access to crude. How will we resolve that in this sort of case?
Well, you just mentioned illegal refineries. Those are not refineries. They are death traps. Well, if you want to help those people, you should train them. First of all, recruitment. When we were building refineries in Nigeria, we went to secondary schools, we went to OND centers, HNDs. We did recruitment 1 or 2 years even before we designed the refinery. So if you're talking about relieving employment, it's a different ball game. It has nothing to do with the type of refinery or not. So those who are involved in illegal refineries now are endangering their lives and the lives of the community. I was in Port Harcourt just a week ago, where I listened on radio to hear about a lot of suits and settling down on homes around Port Harcourt. And the reason for that is because of these illegal refineries, which can only use drums, and those who are operating it are taking very heavy risks. In fact, in such illegal refineries, the products you make are not standard. They only help to adulterate the products you normally import to distribute. So they are a menace to not only the environment, but to the people who are doing it.
So if the solution to that is not the introduction of a modular refinery, what would be your solution to sorting out this illegal refining business? Because the only way they can access the crude in the first place is to break the pipeline.
Exactly, that's where they get their crude from. So anything you do to keep the refineries from not working, this illegal, just like counterfeit processes, you must do that to protect the people who are trying to run it and the environment.
People have also said that modular refineries can be attacked as well, that they're also subject to vandalism as well, pipeline vandalism. Well,
you see, as I tell you, modular refineries and grassroots refineries by definition are the same technically. Usually the modular refineries are smaller and more convenient to locate. So it's not as if there is any difference between the two types of refineries that will help the community. In fact, as I was telling you, the viability of refining to make the business profitable is to build larger refineries. That's why Dangote is building 400, 500,000 barrels per day, not 10,000 barrels or 15,000 barrels, which are usually called allocated for modular sections. As I repeated earlier, modular refineries don't work here because they are small, they are not accessible to the locations for crude oil, and anybody who wants to operate anything of that size must be stealing the crude. I don't think the federal government intends to give crude away free, whereas they can get these unemployed youths in a different way and attract them. The unemployed youths are not using any scientific approved technologies.
Okay, assuming that we do have people who can afford to bring in the modular refineries, we're not talking about those who are operating illegal refineries now.
Yes.
Another issue for them could be or might be investment, return on investment. Where would they get the money from in the economy that we're running now? So what would you suggest? Even though you have said they might not work here, they must have done some research to think that it can. What would you suggest?
Well, they normally get into these projects without knowing enough of it. So I can tell you 3 or 4 refineries that have started as modular that have been abandoned because they find that the cost they are putting in is so high and there's no way to recover their money. That's why when you are building a refinery, you must build it close to the source of the crude oil, and at the same time, the products must be close to the market. And the size of it will determine whether you're going to be profitable or not.
All right. Former Managing Director of the Kaduna Refinery, Mr. Alex Ogedengbe, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10 tonight.
You're welcome.
And when the News at 10 returns, Nigeria's annual inflation rate climbs 20 straight 12 months to 18.72% in January amid rising costs of food, transport and electricity. That's on Business. Please join us again.